Hey, what's up, tribe? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the TFC Audio Project Down Under. This week, I'm joined by Pablo Lagas, who is the founder of Winding Ropes, which is a Melbourne-based company that supplies specially made ropes of different weights and materials that are a really cool play-based tool that can help you learn how to integrate your foot, core, and hip function with different upper body movement patterns that relate really well to things like walking, running, throwing, and jumping. And basically, they just teach you how to utilize the rotation of your body to efficiently generate force, which is obviously pretty much essential for improving performance and minimizing injuries, especially in things like sports and athletics. So I first heard about these ropes around late last year, and I really love the concept because I'm just into anything that is fun and flowy and that encourages a lot of skill development and movement variability. And the ropes really do facilitate a lot of great movement in the trunk, shoulders, and wrists that you generally wouldn't get in most of your daily activities or standard workouts. So I connected with Pablo through Instagram and got a couple of ropes sent up, and I've really enjoyed playing around with them and learning the different patterns and even having a crack at combining them on the beam, which is super fun but also extremely challenging. But I've still got a lot to learn and practice with the ropes, but I've experienced enough to know that they're a really fun and powerful tool, so we wanted to be a part of spreading the message and the actual ropes themselves, which leads us to the product sponsor for today's episode, our new collaborative project with Winding Ropes, which we're calling One Rope. So the whole idea behind One Rope is that we wanted to make a flow rope completely out of recycled plastic bottles collected from the ocean, which would be really the first and only rope you'll ever need. Because the rope flow movement is growing pretty rapidly all over the world, we wanted to be a part of making the industry more sustainable and giving people who are interested in learning the ropes a better option that they can feel really good about buying. We'll also be donating $1 from every One Rope sale to the Australian Marine Conservation Society, which is an awesome independent charity focused on protecting critical ocean ecosystems and endangered marine species around this amazing island that we call home. Australia really does have some of the most beautiful coastlines in the world, but we'll need a collective effort to keep it that way. So you can check out marineconservation.org.au for all the details on what they're up to and how you can help. So a bit of a longer intro today. Pablo and I obviously go into more detail about all the above throughout the episode, and you can check out the One Rope on our website, which is www.tfc-shopaus.com, or on the Winding Ropes website at www.windingropes.com. All right, Pablo, thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, pleasure. So we connected, it was last year sometime, I think, through Instagram, and I really liked the look of what you were doing, even though it was very new to me, the whole concept of rolling ropes and everything. And we've been meaning to catch up for this podcast for a while, but now it's kind of the perfect timing with our new collaborative project being released, which is very
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah.
But before we dig into all that, I thought it'd be good just to start with a bit of background about yourself and what you do, why you do it, and we can just roll from there.
Okay. I created a brand called Winding Ropes last year. That's what you saw on internet. It was me moving ropes
Mm-hmm.
in a different way than skipping. So it it's like very surprising for people to see that. Uh, and it happened the same to me when I saw it. I discovered this training because I was obsessed. I'm still obsessed with jumping higher. So yeah, I was I decided to start jumping higher, and a friend of mine, I was doing some tests with jumping with weights, and some friend of mine came and showed me like, oh, this is similar to what David Wegg is doing with some pulsers, and I
Mm.
didn't know what he was talking about, so I went to see David Wegg, coach. And then I realized he was the inventor of the Bosu ball, the half dome
Oh,
that is
that's
in
right.
every
Yeah,
gym. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So, oh, this is interesting. And then the pulsers were like these salt shakers that you move up and down, like maracas.
yeah.
And basically, the concept there is that you push down and you bounce up. Like we have like a elasticity index. I don't know how to say it. Like if you like the juggling balls, some of them that you can call them, they bounce 80%. Like if you let them fall from 1 meter, they will bounce 80 centimeters, right? That's
Yeah,
80% of bounce.
yeah.
That's like an elasticity constant or index or however you want to call it. That it depends on the material if it's a ball, or here it depends on like it's the little balls hitting the end of the pulsers. The thing
Ah,
is that if
right.
you push down, you're gonna bounce up higher because of our elasticity and some configurations, and basically we're hitting the weights are hitting the bottom of the bottle when we're down, and when we bounce up, the weight is in the middle, so it's like weightless. Then it pushes the top of the bottle and it gives you like a boost up. I found
Right.
it interesting, and then I started like following this coach, and I went to his YouTube channel, and he had these rope exercises. And since I was a jump obsessed addict, I of course that I did rope skipping because it's like typical, but and I love it. And I saw this, and I'm like, I went crazy. Like, what is this? I can't do anything of this. Like, this is so random. Uh,
Mm.
I started watching the videos and again and again and again and tried to learn them, and it was so difficult. Like my brain went like short circuit every time, and that got me like hooked so much. Like, oh, I didn't know you could do so many things with a rope, and I
Yeah.
didn't understand anything. Like now I see videos, and it was like the dark times of the rope. Like only David Weck was doing it, and a couple of coaches around him, like very close to him, that you follow on Instagram, and they were like, I don't know, 1,000 followers. So there I learned. I bought one of his ropes, and I had to wait for my rope to come like 2 months, and the shipping cost was even higher than the cost of the rope. So it was like, ah, fuck. I went to Home Depot and I bought like a rope. I tried to guess which kind it was. I tried to guess if it was the best, the same. I had to guess the knot, how it was called, like, and I'm pretty sure that everyone who starts with the rope or did it before goes through this search, because it's like it's a rope, it's a simple thing, it should be available for everyone. Like, how do I do the knots? What kind of rope is it? You start realizing there's a lot of kind of ropes. Oh, do you think they are all the same?
Mm.
You start
Yeah.
getting these questions. So then it was like I started, oh, maybe there is this need for ropes, like with only one provider of this kind of rope. Okay, maybe. And then I always had in my mind, like, okay, this is perfect, but how do I go heavier? And then, of course, a heavy rope. And they were not being sold at that time. And that was still when I lived in Chile, like 2 years ago.
Oh,
Uh,
right. This is all when you're in Chile.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I don't know if I'm too long on this first question or we're doing fine, but I,
No, no. Keep going. I like
okay.
hearing stories.
Yeah, I was still in Chile and I was buying different ropes and they were different, like only one of them. And then I got my rope from David Weck. I could feel how it was. Okay, it's different, it's this. And I started understanding more about ropes.
Mm. Mhm.
And I went and I found like a rope manufacturer in Chile. And I needed to find someone who sold the battle ropes to the people, to the gyms,
Mm.
because I needed to try those battle ropes as like a rope for rolling it. And
Mm.
I bought it and I realized it was too stiff. Like, okay, now I understand. It's not this. And I started making more references and ideas in my head about how a good rope is, like what a good rope is, because I had many ropes by that time and they were not good, like too stiff, most of them. That's the typical rope you will find is much more stiff than what you need.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh, so that's Chile, and then I didn't find the right rope, so I kind of gave up. Like, okay, I didn't do it now. Then I had planned moving to Australia because I felt like I needed to live somewhere else. It's like I didn't like the idea of living only in Chile, and I wasn't doing anything important. I think so. It was like, okay, I have nothing to lose. I need to live somewhere else. I studied engineering, and thanks to that degree, I could get a visa very easily here.
Mm.
So it was just like applying for a visa, waiting for my date. I came, and I was like, I was here out of job, out of money, out of everything, and I started. Okay, I think now I'm gonna keep trying the rope thing that I couldn't do in Chile. I'm gonna keep the same process, like finding manufacturers, finding people, and learning about ropes and finding the best one because I haven't found a good one to sell. And then I thought, like, okay, I'm in Australia. This is a like a far away island, so they have a lot of marine culture. I don't know,
Yeah.
boats. Marine people love ropes, like they need ropes. So I think I'm in a
True.
good place. Australia, like they are good manufacturers. They are proud of the things they build. Okay, I think this is a good opportunity. Maybe it's destiny. Like I think this is a good place where I can find good ropes. Like a country with like marine culture and good handcrafting or good manufacturing. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I started visiting and calling, and I went to some cities around Melbourne. And I don't have a car. I didn't have a car by then, even less. So I had to take the train and take hours to different factories and
True.
talk to the owners. And they were like, and they have like giant customers. I'm a small guy, only one. Sometimes I with my bag walking to their place. Like I'm the smallest they can find, but they some of them were nice, and this guy was very nice, and he started teaching me about ropes, selling me the cutoffs, telling me which one should be better. I showed them some samples, and I started learning about ropes. Then he had like art of knots in his wall, and I took a picture of that, and then it was like, okay, this is easy, like everything is easy. Like I have the knots name here. Okay, so now if I start learning more about knots, I know a bit more about ropes, enough maybe. Okay, now I'm pretty sure I'm the one. I'm no more than 95% of people about ropes, and mostly more than 99% about ropes in the training area. Like, and anyone who's starting to learn ropes will have this kind of questions, but I think no one will go as deep as me.
Yeah.
Okay, so then and that's when I this guy showed me some bigger ropes, and I understood the quality that I needed for the bigger ropes, and he showed me which one it should be. So I started like getting very good at the names, and then I understood that I was like a small customer, so I needed to treat different the providers, and most of the times they won't listen to me because I want to buy, I don't know, 20 meters or shit like that. They don't care, of course.
Yeah.
So that's like started understanding like this is still small and it needs to grow, but the challenge here is the volume and being like a good supplier for the people, being like a good customer of the providers, and finding that match is what is giving should give me value in the industry. Um, so that's when I took the risk. I bought like a big roll of big rope, and it went good. And then everything has been like has made me like more confident on my ideas. And basically it's being the same, like trying to offer different weights of ropes, always the best quality, trying to offer like simple education, simple explanation of what to do, how to have fun, um, and now trying to make to sell like cheaper products. We are creating like marketplaces for used ropes. We are worrying about like the sustainability. Like it's like a process of where you start getting confidence in yourself, and you can like your brand is a part of your identity and part of your
Hmm.
mission to like to build in the world you want to build, like
Yeah.
because you start meeting people that like you and you like them, and you talk to customers and they are like, oh, I like this new thing you're doing, and they are close to the company, and you get like feedback, and I don't know, it's
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you mean. It sort of sounds like a similar journey as what I had setting up the Foot Collective here in Australia, because I saw Nick's, the Canadian Foot Collective selling their beams. I was like, oh, I want a beam, and it was like $300 to ship the beam, and
yeah.
and $200 for the beam, and I was like, ooh, nah, maybe not. And then I guess I just realized that well, at the time we were only selling metal beams, and so I was like, how do you source this? It was like aircraft grade aluminium
Mm,
beam, and like how do you powder coat it, and this and that. And I was like, they're probably people obviously want these beams in Australia, so maybe I should just make them and sell them. But it's a big process of discovery,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
and of like you say, it's a big process of also of like determination and big
yeah,
like, conviction because
yeah,
at first like and it's been a great journey, but for example what you're saying, like at first you are worried about details that are not so important because you don't have the conviction. You
mm,
find like every excuse to not expose yourself, like
yeah,
no, maybe no, I don't have this capacity, so I think I won't do it. But then when you start getting like little wins, you're like, no, fuck it. I don't need it to be this air type super metal. I will do it PVC. I don't care because people wanna pay $5 for the beam and the PVC is maybe 95% as good. And that's my way. And we are doing it my way.
right, yeah. Well, actually, we did end up going the
Yeah.
aircraft grade aluminium, but
Yeah, no, no,
but
but yeah, it
I know
doesn't
what you
matter.
mean.
Like
Yeah, yeah,
the thing is, you even or maybe the conviction is, fuck it, I need the metal aluminium, and I will do it because I know I can sell it to 100 people. Like
yeah,
any
yeah.
kind of conviction, you will get it, and then you attack that. Pa,
And
pa.
yeah, and I think for me as well, and you've probably found maybe thought about this as well, is like it almost seems too simple. Like you're just selling a beam to someone, or you're just selling a length of rope, and it's like, wow, like people are they actually going to buy this?
Yeah, that's like the typical fear
Yeah,
when you're starting. Like, why the fuck would someone buy a rope from me?
yeah, yeah,
But that's like what I said before. You start understanding your value in the market, but because you first solved your own problem, you were the
yeah,
first one to have that problem and to be passionate enough to solve it. And then you
yeah,
thought, okay, I'm sure there are 200 people like me coming next year, so I'm
yeah.
gonna be ready for these guys.
Yeah, 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 exactly. And so I thought that was really, I mean, I think it's really cool the parallels between the two, and also something that I first thought when I saw you rolling the ropes. I was like, oh, that kind of seems like an upper body equivalent of the beam, because what we're all about with the beam is training your feet and your balance and your hips and everything through play, like through getting into a flow state and just playing with movement. And when I saw the ropes, I was like, gee, that looks fun, and it looks like it'd probably be a good workout, and like but for the most part just a fun skill to learn.
Yeah,
And the other thing is that they're not easy. Like the beam isn't easy, the ropes aren't easy, and people do sort of need a bit of guidance to help them progress. Otherwise, they try it, they go, "Oh, that's really hard. I can't do it," and then and then the rope or the
yeah.
beam collects
You
dust.
have different kind of people, like the fast learners that can learn anything,
Yeah,
and some people need more guidance.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Um, so on that topic, say if someone saw someone rolling ropes, so they went onto your Instagram channel and they saw all these people spinning ropes around, and they go like, What is the point of that? Why would anyone want to do that? What's your answer? Like, what are the benefits of rope flow training?
Uh, First, I think that's a typical question. Like anything, I don't know. Like first is having fun. Like just do it and see if you like it.
Yeah, I like that.
I don't know if you're too busy, don't do it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, um, first mm, I don't know. For me, it was like a visual. It was visually appealing. Okay,
Hmm.
some people find it ridiculous and it's like, oh, it's like an easy way, it's like skipping for beginners or anything, but it's like that's like people trying to troll, but they haven't even tried, so it's funny, like I don't care
Mm.
because probably they can't skip either
Yeah. Yeah.
most of the times. But for me it was visually appealing, so it was like the same that for me it was a like, remember I was obsessed about jumping and I got obsessed about that time. I did like put it like, I don't know, 20 2003 2000, no, 10. I was reading Testosterone Nation. It was typical magazine of strength training, and basically because what you read about jumping at the time was like Jump Manual or some programs that were famous, and they were like about strength training and power training. So I got obsessed like squats, deadlift, and then power training because it's also about force rate development, and you have to move the weight fast and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So I got very excited about that. I made like some courses about Olympic weightlifting, but I got too much into there, and I forgot about jumping. I started liking CrossFit and those things. I started getting injured, and I started into that. Now I think it's a bit nonsense, but it's part of everyone's progress anyway. The thing is, I started thinking more in rotations at one time, like, oh, but this is like too stiff. Why? I don't know. I couldn't say it, but I thought that the movement was more about rotations, and we were
Mhm.
missing on something. And that's the time that I found David Weck, and all of his work is about rotations and rotational power and rotational movement training. That's the name of the rope, RMT, rotational movement training,
Ah, right. Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So it was that for me. So it was, this is it. This is what I my brain was looking for. My brain was like this, and poop, it saw it, and it was like, this is it, this is it, this is it. So it was that obsession, and I think that for a lot of people is that is what you saw. It's This is very appealing. Like, it's like when you start seeing this, someone rolling a rope, it's like a cycle, and you start like falling into a
Yeah.
trance, like,
It's like
but
hypnotic.
yeah, it's hypnotic because it's spirals and it's cyclical. It's a continuous framework. Like, it's forever, forever. If you do the same, you can be forever, and it's not, you're not jumping, so you don't get tired. You can be hours doing it.
Yeah.
After you learn, first time you get sore on the shoulders and everything, but it was that it's appealing and it's emotional. Like, it's hard to explain, but then after you learn it, you realize when you learn the movements, you're using your hands for moving, and that's the principle of the rope. It's like you understand how much information comes from the hand. You start using the hands even as a lever for moving. You start being much more skilled with the hands, and it's about it's like a skill acquisition training. Like, I would say you get a bit smarter. You get, it's easier for you to catch some things. It's easier for you to work with your hands. It's easier for you to learn things. It has made me much more aware of the timing. For example, like, I can think of time of beats when I'm rolling rope. So one beat is when I touch the floor, but now I also have half beats that if I pump with my body in between ropes, I create like a like an extra space of time, and it's very similar to music. So it just gets very fun, and you just
Mm,
progress and start training freely, and you stop seeing training as calories, as getting tired, as getting sore,
yeah.
as that, like, um and like, you stop, like, I think that's what I like about this. Like, the people is so different. It's like, it's not the typical robotic training for selfies showing your ass. It's like much more of someone expressing with their body, like learning, like, exposing to a new challenge every day. Like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do this. Oh, now I can do it. Woo! Like, small wins.
Yeah.
Uh, it's I think it's very different to the typical training because it's like a different mindset. Like, that's what I see. Like, I love the fact that you can put together groups with old ladies, little kids. uh, I have very good relationship with like ladies older. Like, we have like good connection. So some, you won't play basketball with them or those things. Like, it's not their interest, it's not your interest. It's different levels and everything. But you can meet them and roll ropes, right? You
Mm,
can teach them things. They can think they are cool. Like, look at them, look, I'm doing my dragon roll and I'm great. Look, now I'm switching. Look, now I'm doing this underhand thing, and it's easy, but it looks cool.
yeah.
And it takes them weeks to learn a new pattern. So it's challenging enough, it's rewarding enough. It's like, that's what I like. It's for everyone. So uh, um, we had a call with David Weck like last week, and talking about this. Like, he wants to create like a program without rope to make it accessible and universal. So it's like similar to what you do with ropes, similar to Tai Chi, including movement with of the body, like running in the same place and stuff. But the idea is that it's like not focusing only in performance, is starting with everybody having fun. Like
Mm.
the right to enjoy your life, it begins with enjoying your body, like learning to use your body and enjoy it. Like that's the first thing we are worried about. Like people having fun, people enjoying their body, people discovering things, and we think the rope is like such a good teacher of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And that's a huge part of our philosophy as well is, it doesn't have to, even if something, say the beam had no benefits at all, it is just really fun.
Yeah.
And
What else do you need? That's
yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah.
biggest benefit.
And that's what we want to try and do is sort of re-spark that joy of movement. And it just so happens that balancing on a beam does have some really great benefits for
Yes.
your feet and your balance and so on. And that might be part of why you do it. But a big part of, I think, why people keep doing it is they go, oh, that looks cool, that looks fun, I want to get one of those. And then they get it and they play on it and it is fun, and they can feel the benefits. And something that I noticed with the rope, when I first got one, my first rope was from you,
Yeah.
and I started watching your instructional videos. And at first I was like, this is like new. This is like I'm not sure what I'm doing here, and so I had to really tune in and focus. And I've I spent I spend a lot of time learning new movement skills, so I picked it up fairly quickly, or picked up the basics fairly quickly, and then um yeah, like the first day, you're like, oh, actually, I can sort of feel my shoulders a bit. Like, your
Mm.
shoulders have been moving and working, and you know that your brain has been working. And then I remember I had a particular session where I had music on, and I'd just been sort of training all the different basic moves, which you can find, I believe, on your YouTube channel.
Yes.
Um, it's very hard to explain it over audio. But I was learning all the basic moves, and then I figured out how my footwork allowed me to transition between the
Mm.
different movements, and that really suddenly it all clicked. I was listening to this really good song, and I just started rolling and flowing, and I remember having this like really big rush of like good emotions, just going,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
this is fun. And I felt
yeah.
like I was dancing to this music through the rope. And on top of that, I got like a really, like, I started huffing and puffing after like a few minutes of doing that, because it's a really, once you get up to that level of intensity and you're flowing, then it can be a really challenging workout. But I wasn't doing it for the workout, I was
Mm.
doing it for the fun of it.
Yeah. Um, Something that happens there is oh, I lost the idea.
You mean with the flow, like the way you can flow to music and dance with
Yeah,
it?
like we use some tips, like for example, like what you said. Sometimes it clicks, like
Mm,
oh, the footwork is like this. Oh, so we that's why we drill. Like okay, this is how you go from north to east. That then you
yeah.
will find the. But that's other thing. Like when you put these rules, these constraints, it makes it like a game.
Mm,
It's like a sport. If you look at it, it's like a solo sport because when you add these constraints, like that's north, that's south, the rope moves only in one direction. Oh, okay, now you have a framework, now you have like a set of rules, and now you have to use your imagination to comply with that. Like when you have limits is when you have to use your imagination, you have to use your brain. How do I fix, how do I get still, do I keep myself still in these limits and I still reach the goal? So that
mhm.
happiness that you said is like almost like you are in the game and you unlock a new level. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, like
yeah.
oh, fuck, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. And we do things like okay, when you are transferring from south to east, let like look, when you're doing this movement, your chest is gonna face that way. Let that be the sign of where is your next side. Like if you're moving like this and your chest is pointing left, your next movement should be to the left. That's your natural transition. Like that's when you understand those things, like you can start improvising because it's just taking you like okay, I'm going left. Okay, so I know my next movement is like in east. So I have all this list of what I could do. but my right hand is going in this way. So that filters my list. Okay, I could only do this, but I want to do this next. So I'm going to add this. And then it all happens automatically.
Mm, mm.
And that's what makes it like so like a pleasure. Like it's like playing music. It's like right now I'm working with a friend and we want to make like a music course, like music and ropes, like taking all the rhythms and like as much concept as we can. We're gonna explore them and then explain them like different, like how you play the bass with your hands and the other with
Oh,
your
right.
feet,
Oh,
right? Like
cool.
yeah, like an analogy, but our craziness. Like a lot of people could see it in another way, but that's the idea. Like to start putting that seed of mixing things like that and just go crazy and have fun. Like and that's gonna be the start, and hopefully people will do crazy things like that. Like
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of power in that, moving to music, and it's something that humans have been doing
yeah,
for
it's a
hundreds
hypnosis,
of
like you
thousands
said.
of years, because it's such a cool way to, I don't know, connect your nervous system, and also to connect with other people as well, if that's, if that's what's going on, like dancing. And I've found that with the ropes and with the beam, like when once you have really got a decent level of mastery, I suppose, with the basics, then when you chuck music on and you just improvise, and that's sort of the term flow comes to mind, when you're just
Yeah,
improvising and you're listening to music and you're like, I can just dance along the beam and it's so fun and I'm completely out of my head.
yeah, you're
and
only there.
and 5 minutes later I'm like, whew, wow, I'm puffed, or even less. And it's you just have to work. I think you have to push through the discomfort of learning something in the first place, because it's like,
Yes,
oh, this is hard, I
yes,
really don't get this. And then eventually it clicks, and then you're able to improvise, and it does just become play, which I think is really cool. And then I've also started combining the ropes on the beam, which is an extra extra
that's
level of
super
difficulty.
challenging. Like
Yeah, yeah,
super challenging. Like
yeah.
yeah, it makes you be there because it's even a bit not dangerous, but uh, you need to be there every second. Like
Yeah.
what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. For me, it's a bit like that. Like
Yeah, you can't take
next,
your
next,
focus
next
off
second,
at
next second,
all.
next second. Yeah, I don't know. It's great.
Yeah.
Um, well, this like a lot of people talk about the flow state, and I have like other way of seeing it as well. Like we have like a different networks in our brain. We had talked about this before, but there's an author I'm following the last year that is called Gary Weber, and he
Mm,
talks about we have like the default mode network, which is like when we are in our phone and when we are doing nothing or things that are not important or not a problem, or basically we're wandering around. When we have that mode activated, we are nervous, we are anxious, we are thinking about the future, we are thinking about the past, we are thinking basically. And 95 or most of our thoughts, 95%, are self centered and are based on me. Like, what am I going to do next? What's going to happen to me tomorrow? What happened to me yesterday? How did I screw it before? What mistake did I do last week? Where would I be if I hadn't do that? And blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
But he says also that when we do like easy mathematical problems or like easy solution problems, like the typical high school mathematics, additions, multiplications, those things, we change the mode network, the brain network, and the thoughts go. We have like other network activated, so there's other pathway, and then we stop wondering, we stop thinking about future or past, and we just focus on the task.
Hmm.
It's very easy to go into that mode when you are using your hands. Okay, so I think that a lot of that happiness with the rope has to do with that. Like your hands are busy now, okay, and now you're here,
Yeah.
and then you have that. But I still have some people that still gets out of focus. Okay, so like you said before, you start adding connections. I love them to count, like music. So
Mm,
now we are doing this movement, matador. It's 1 2 1 2 1 2, in out, and you start boom boom. You start this this hypnosis that you feel when you see someone because he's doing it right. You start creating it in your head. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2, and then you start matching the beats of the rope with your count, and now
Yeah.
you have two connections doing the same. You have even three. You are speaking, you're listening, and you are moving your hands, so you have three. Okay,
Mm,
so that's what I say. It's like when you're learning, you want to put as much connections as you want through the thing you're learning, and you can use techniques like the long-term memory is a drawer, and the short-term memory is a new object you put inside the drawer. So basically, a long-term memory is like your house or your room. In the rope, it would be the cardinal points:
yeah.
south, north, east, and then you have different objects, new items that you can put in each direction. uh, so you start, like, for me has been like that, like learning techniques of speed reading, of memory things and stuff, and I try to apply them on the rope work.
Yeah. Yeah. Sweet. Yeah, and the other cool thing I love about the rope that is similar to the beam is like when you're on the beam, you don't really need anyone to coach you per se. Like you need to I think it's helpful to know some different things to try, but no one has to tell you whether or not you're doing it right because if you're not doing it right, you fall off or you
Yeah.
step off the beam. And with the rope, if you're not doing it right, it gives you that instant feedback by either you hit yourself with the rope
Mhm.
or it just doesn't feel good. It just doesn't feel right because it's lagging or the pattern. You're not. It's swinging around wildly, and as
Yeah,
soon
and
as
you're
you
eventually hitting yourself
yeah, eventually
if
you hit
it doesn't
yourself.
feel right.
Yeah.
Wait a little bit and pa.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think it's kind of cool how the rope gives you a little smack when you're not
Yes,
doing it right.
literally.
And uh, yeah, as long as you know roughly, or as long as you sort of know what you need to be working towards, you'll get the instant feedback of whether or not you're doing it right. And as soon as you start doing it right, you get that little kick of like, oh, this feels right.
Yeah,
Like
feels
this is
so good.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
a
like
lot
you
of
said,
feeling. Yeah,
it's perpetual. Like you can just keep
yeah,
going in that pattern. You could just keep going back, forward, back, or
yeah.
whatever it
Then you
is.
add like a little dance with your body, like tune, 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 and then you count 1 2 1 2, and
Yeah.
it's like ding, ding, happy.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so those kinds of anything like that, like rope flow, beam, juggling, hacky sack, when you get that instant feedback of whether or not you're doing it right or wrong,
Mm,
it's like such a cool thing for the brain that mm, I think drives a lot of the motivation because when you get it right, it feels really good, and when you
yeah,
get it wrong, it's like or like, especially with the
yeah.
rope, it gives you a little smack, and you go or the hacky drops down, and it just doesn't feel good, and so your brain gets into that zone of really wanting to. It sort of I find once you
Understands
start
the
picking it
learning
up,
feedback.
yeah, and
It's like a meta learning tool.
basically, yeah, and it allows you. I've found it allows you to pick that skill up fairly quickly if you put in the time. Like if you put in a decent amount of time. It's
Yes,
not like learning Olympic weightlifting where it's so technical and you need all these different cues and you need a coach teaching you exactly how to do each lift. It's
and you need to be strong. Like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
1% of people. Like that's the thing we don't understand. Like we see Instagram and we see a lot of people lifting weights, but that's not That's not most of the people. That's least
No.
of the people. Like it's our echo chamber on Instagram that we like lifting, and now it's now our life is full of videos of people lifting weights and taking pictures in the gym.
Yeah.
That's not the rest of the world. Like the rest of the world is not that strong, and it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't have to be that strong.
Yeah, yeah.
You just need to be a capable mover, and
You need
and
to,
learning new
yeah, like
you
have
need to be able
fun.
to learn skills and have fun with movement. You have to have a base level of strength, but you don't have to be insanely strong like
Mm.
Olympic weightlifters and everything. Yeah. And so yeah, pretty much I really fell in love with the whole concept of the rope flow, and it's among. I'll admit that it's one of many loves of mine. Like, I really love the hacky sack, and I really love the beam, and so I haven't fully mastered the rope, I wouldn't say, but I've definitely picked up
It's a
enough
toy.
that
Yeah,
I can flow.
it's
And
one of your toys.
yeah, it's one of my toys, exactly. And anyway, I love the concept, and sort of thought that it was a really cool, like I said, an almost like an upper body equivalent of what we're doing with the beam and the hacky
Yeah,
sack. And so I wanted to be a part of making that more available to our community
spreading.
as well, the Foot
Yeah,
Collective community, and sort of collaborating. And so we caught up in Melbourne for a like a movement, like a park session, like a move and play event, and we had ropes going, we had beams, we had hacky sacks, and you Mac and I had a bit of a brainstorm afterwards about this new concept that with which we're now calling one rope,
yeah,
about, like, there's all these people buying ropes, and that's awesome, but how can we make that more sustainable? How can we make it a better for the earth? Like, how can people simultaneously get onto the rope and learn rope flow while
yeah.
also
Like,
contributing to the health of the planet?
yeah. For me,
um
can I
hey,
say?
yeah, yeah.
For me, it was a blessing because um, last year I was my first year in Australia, 2020, and I was like starting this, and I was working in a warehouse, like doing night shift, like in a shipping warehouse. So I
Yeah,
was
right.
working at night and doing like shipping ropes and making videos and like the administrative work or brainstorming work or marketing, whatever you have at starting. I was doing it in the morning. Like, I was very short on time, and it was like a very, it was good. Like, it was fun. The thing is, I learned that I need. Okay, so I was like tired, of course, and fighting this, but so I needed like a very big goal, a very something that kept me going. So it had to be big. So I said, okay, I need to sell 1 million ropes. Okay, so that's my goal. But then it's like, fuck, but it's so plastic. Like, I know I need a big number and I need to push myself, but what the fuck? Like, I don't want to bring 1 million of plastic ropes. Like, okay, we figure it out on the way. Okay, so it's like it couldn't be my goal. So like yet, like I couldn't commit myself 100% if it didn't check that box. Like, what do I do about it? And when you came and told me the idea, for me it was like, fuck. What was I thinking about? What like where was I? Like like I'm supposed to be like I have ideas and shit, and I'm like, this is so good. I'm like, I'm sold. Let's do it. Let's
That's
do this.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was back in I think it was back in March. So, well, for those who are listening who don't actually know the idea yet, the idea is that we can produce ropes from recycled ocean bottles, or
Yeah.
bottles, like plastic bottles in the ocean.
Yes.
And so, because ropes are plastic, and like you
Polyester.
said,
Yeah.
we don't really want to contribute to a whole heap of extra plastic going into the environment. Then what we can do is clean up the oceans and create more ropes. And so that's pretty much the idea behind one rope.
Perfect.
And yeah, it does bring that extra element of purpose, I think, rather than, it's not just about selling ropes or selling
Yeah.
beams. Like,
It
for
was
us,
never. Yeah. It was never about the selling part of the word of the phrase, but it brings, yeah, like it explains everything. Like, it's spreading the movement,
yeah.
and getting your message across.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we want people to find the joy of movement,
Yeah.
and to get all these benefits as well, but we want them to do it in a way that's actually contributing. So, we saw it similar to what we do with our beams. Is we plant a tree with every beam that we sell, and so we're using wood to create the beams, and we figure that we should plant a tree to put that sort of wood back into the earth, and to put that
For the next themes.
yeah, for the next beams, kind
Yeah.
of, yeah. And or at least put that wood where it needs to
Yeah.
be, put the trees where they need to be. And yeah, I think it really helps our conscience in a sense, because it's not just about first of all, people do get to fall in love with movement and get all the benefits, but they also get to do it in a way that supports their planet, because without the planet, then we're not really going to be living very much
Yeah,
anyway.
and I think it's the same. Like, for me, this year has been of finding a lot of things, but also like this composting and recycling is like hygiene. Like, and hygiene is part of like your soul and mental health. Like,
Mm,
it's the kind of things that you do every day that make you feel good, that we can say they are not scalable. Like, sometimes we are thinking of doing big things, heroic things, like, okay, I want to get rich tomorrow, but that's not what's gonna make you happy. It's like, uh, composting, like, I don't know, doing the habitual things, like how you wake up, your morning routine, your sport, the sport that you like, your beam session, your rope session every day, your walk with your dog, like those little things that you do
simple
every day.
things, yeah.
If you learn to love them, that's like the hygiene, what I call, like the things that you do every day that make you feel good, that make you look good. Like, don't let yourself fall into a bottom, into a rock bottom.
Yeah.
So the thing is that is like, it's the same that we are saying with the training. Like, it's not about, it's not I'm in love with performance, running fast, being bigger, jumping higher, but I know that's my craziness. But what I mean is like, just like we want everybody to play, we want everybody to compost, because we know how
Yeah,
positive it is for them, because we know how good it feels to make those things. Like, like when you do something that you think it's part of a bigger mission, you feel very good. So that's like,
definitely.
we also want to spread by composting, and it's part of our values, our packaging, our everything. And it's like almost like running ropes, like almost as important, I would say. Like, it's
Yeah.
part of the same.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And I think it's cool because a big part of what we want to do with TFC, like we have a bit of a catchphrase we've been using, is like restore to explore. Like you should be restoring your foot function and restoring your balance and all of this stuff so that you can actually go and explore in
Mm.
nature and you can actually connect deeper with nature. And if we have, generally naturally derived materials like cork and wood and things like that, and then we use for anything that isn't, I suppose, naturally derived, then we can use recycled materials and we can use
Yeah,
compostable
like,
materials.
we
Then,
understanding our toys as luxury, and
yeah,
that we need to take the appropriate step of respect, and like taking care of what the ways we're gonna create. Like,
yeah,
okay, world, I'm sorry, I need to bring this toy.
yeah,
I know I don't need it. Like, sorry about this. I know I'm being a dick. I'm bringing a rope that I shouldn't because it's plastic. But look, at least I'm cleaning bottles. Oh, okay, just do it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
like that. Like, when you find your place, I think it's that. It's like you get more humble, and it's like, fuck, we do whatever we want here. We don't ask anyone anything. So it's like, we think we are the owners of the world, but it's very literal. Like,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
acted so much like that. Like, we don't care about our ways. We don't care about anything. Anything.
Generally, yeah, yeah, exactly, and
As
it's a
humans,
big thing that
yeah.
needs to change. And I think the cool thing is that the community of people who like our stuff, who are into rolling ropes and who are into balancing on beams and going barefoot and things like this, that community, the people listening to this podcast, really care about
Yeah.
the environment as
I
well.
think
They
it's
tend
an
to,
awareness level. Uh,
yeah.
and that's why our mission is to sell 1 million ropes and to sell 1 million beams, because we know that if we bring 1 million people to run ropes, it's bringing at least half to composting and to other habits. It's like
Mm,
a
mm.
mindset shift. It's like, okay, uh, I'm enjoying this, I'm enjoying life. That's how, at least how I want to believe it and how I see it. Like, it's that's why we want to spread it, because we know the impact it can have, not only on our sales or our bank accounts, because
Mm.
I don't think it's that. It hasn't been that for me, at least.
No, no, exactly. I mean, you have to make money, you have to live, but,
Yeah, yeah,
it's never been about fully
yeah.
it's never been about the money.
No,
There's
and it's,
better ways to make money than what we're doing.
yeah, and also the better you do it, and I think the better we do it, and the more committed to our values, the more engagement we can get. Like, I think it's even the other way. Like, if it's about the money, we have much more money to make by being committed to our values, to making things different,
Yeah,
because everybody's doing the same things.
yeah,
Like, we are,
exactly.
I think we are innovating, and we are on other projects coming, and we have the same values, and we have the conviction that we are here to change the world. Like, uh,
And
when you
I
go.
was gonna say, and money is really just a fuel to help make that change.
Yeah,
Like, you
like, I
can't
need
really make a
money.
big
I need
change without
money.
it.
I need
Yeah,
money to spread it to 10 millions after spreading it to 1 million. And
exactly.
that's gonna
Yeah.
bring much more cooler things to the world, because that's the world I wanna build. And that's like
Mm,
the mindset we are in, and that's why we have connected and we're working together, because uh, like, that's, I want to like dominate and set the standards. We're changing, like, we are setting the standards for this young industry, but now we're gonna change more industries, and like Steve Jobs said once, that's a phrase that I always remember, that it's very powerful to me. Like, when you realize that everything is done by people that is not smarter than you, like, you have like this. And then, and like the same thing that you felt with the beams, that fuck, it's too expensive and the shipping is more expensive, I won't do it, is because you can solve it better, it, you have the conviction.
yeah.
And that conviction, like, now when you do you and it's the same progress of everything we talked about before. You get that first little win, that first little dopamine rush, and you see, this is not so hard. Oh,
Yeah.
look, this cup is not so well designed. What if I add more weight here and it could never drop,
Yeah.
right? Oh, fuck. And those are a lot of ideas that I have that I haven't made, right? Like, this is
Yeah.
very good, right? It couldn't fall if it's twice as heavy here.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
something
Yeah.
like that. And then you could improve this design by this. And then I adopted that mentality you had with the beam, with everything. Like, I won't buy this because I know it's a limited design, and I have
Mm,
seen it. And I shared some of my ideas with you. We're working on a next one.
we are.
So you know how it works. It's like, we have this need, but now you have in your brain that little bag that tells you, remember, you can change the world by designing it yourself, instead of buying the not optimum product you see on the market.
Yeah.
You can create your version. And then, for me, it goes even deeper, because I don't like fancy packaging, for example. I think that's
Mm,
like a shiny object syndrome. Like, um, people, we fall too much into sales tactics. And
yeah.
one of our missions of the brand is also like teaching people sales tactics, like teaching sales and marketing, so they are prepared for these tactics on them. Okay, so we are
Yeah.
like creating smarter consumers, because we think that's part, like, if people buy less things that are irresponsible, we're improving. Like, the changes come from the demand part, customers, and from the supply part, us, brands.
Yeah, and we're giving people an opportunity to vote with their dollar pretty much. And
Yeah,
yeah, they go,
because
because otherwise, if you think, oh, it's too big of a problem, we can't solve it, then it'll never get solved. But if
yes.
you create something that people who think similarly to you go, oh, I'd rather get that because that makes a lot more sense for the environment and for myself and so on, then they're essentially, you're allowing them to vote with their dollar to change the world. And it's only going to be with a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds voting with their dollar that anything is really going to change in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that might be a good place to leave it for now. And I think, yeah, we do, like you said, we've got a really exciting new
Yeah.
collaboration coming up after the ropes, and we won't give too much away right now, but I reckon we'll have to try and line up another podcast for when that
It's
releases,
gonna
so we
be
can talk.
fun. because it's like a parallel story of this. Like
It
it's
is.
gonna have,
Yeah.
yeah, it has like very similar concept. It's the same. It's like the same. You can put like the timeline parallel,
Yeah.
find like connections, very strong connections.
Exactly.
It's gonna be very fun.
Yeah, I'm excited. So, for now, why don't you, at the moment, best place for people to find you if they want to sort of see more about you, and so your website would be what
Windingropes.com.
windingropes.com.au, or is it just
No, no,
windingropes.com?
.com.
Okay. Yeah.
Instagram, winding rope without the final S,
Yep.
only one rope. Basically that we now have a TikTok and Facebook we have also, but most of the things we post on Instagram and tutorials and longer videos on YouTube.
Yeah, sweet. And we'll link all that in the show notes
Yeah.
as well. So we'll link the website and the YouTube channel and the Instagram handle as well. And yeah, if you're keen to look into the winding ropes and especially our one rope which has been released, then get in touch and grab one, and
Yeah,
you'll have
like
a lot of
it's gonna
fun.
be available in your website for your people
Yep.
and
Yep.
available on my website for my people, international orders. That basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're excited.
Lots of exciting stuff to come.
Yeah, I would also like to add this. We didn't mention this, but um, uh, uh, Philippines is a country that is very big on road flow. They have like they love it. They have seen this like a new sport. Like I love to see a lot of women doing it. Like finding like it's like if they finally found their body expression they were looking for.
Mm, mm,
It feels like that. Like, oh, finally I found you. Like this is what I was looking for. It's like dancing, but maybe you expose yourself less because there's a rope, so it's not on you. Blah blah blah. The thing
yeah.
is, they live on islands. They live literally on the ocean. Uh,
Mm,
and we are releasing this one rope, and we are gonna our first customers are people from islands in Philippines. We're gonna give a detailed list later, but one of our partners there, he has contacted like islands that are gonna start practicing rope flow, and we're gonna get them like for almost cost price, like almost nothing for them. We're gonna get like a very big uh, order and help them get like a lot of ropes so they can start with a recycled rope this journey. Like,
yeah, sweet.
and so
Yeah,
it's gonna be, I think it's gonna be very symbolic to start the ropes that are cleaning the ocean to start using them in the same ocean, like the islands, people living in the
yeah,
islands.
love
So
it.
that's gonna be nice, I guess. And that like we are gonna give them like the best price tag we can give them as a small company, and so it's a benefit for everyone.
Yeah, yeah,
It's gonna be
100%.
nice.
Yeah, and also a percentage of the sales will also go towards marine conservation. So yeah, we're gonna be
Yeah, more
working with
details
some
on that, but
partnerships. Yeah,
perfect, like
yeah.
saving the ocean.
Exactly. Yeah, because it's an important thing, and the ocean needs a bit of love. We've been kind of mistreating it for a long time with the way we do things as humans, and if we can all sort of work together to crowdfund some kind of solution through using the plastic and cleaning it up, then I think it's going to be good for everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun. Like let's have fun together doing it.
Exactly. Awesome, mate. All right. Well, thanks again for the chat, and thanks everyone for listening. And we'll catch you next week.
Thank you for inviting me. It was very fun.
Yeah. Thanks, mate. Cheers.